The sun was setting over the edge of the desert, turning the horizon into a burning sea of gold and rust. The air was dry, still and heavy with dust that seemed to hold its breath. Clara Whitmore had been out by the river, fetching water for her father's ranch when she saw something, or rather, someone lying still among the reeds. At first she thought it was a dead animal, but as she drew closer, her heart pounded at the sight of a man, half-conscious, his body scarred and bleeding. His skin bore the sun's bronze, his hair was long and dark, and a band of leather and beads hung loosely from his wrist. She recognized the markings instantly. The stranger was Apache. Her breath caught in her throat. Her first instinct to flee, but something about the way he lay there, broken and barely breathing, made her drop to her knees instead. "Hey, can you hear me?" she whispered, pressing a hand against his chest. His heartbeat was faint but steady. She looked around quickly, knowing if her father or any of the ranch hands saw her helping an Apache, there'd be trouble. The war between settlers and the tribes had left bitter scars on both sides. But Clara wasn't her father. She couldn't watch a man die because of who he was. So she tore the hem of her dress and pressed it against the bleeding, wound on his ribs, whispering, "Hold on, stranger. Just hold on." She dragged him half carrying, half pulling into the shade of her barn, sweat rolling down her temples. The horse in the stall neighed softly as if questioning her sanity. Clara panted, looking down at the man. His breath was shallow, his chest rising and falling in short, painful bursts. She fetched a bucket of water and began washing away the dirt and blood. The wound on his side was deep, a clear mark of a bullet grazing through. She cleaned it as best she could, trembling. "Don't you die on me, whoever you are," she murmured, stitching the wound with trembling hands. The stranger flinched, groaning weakly, his dark eyes fluttering open. They were sharp, too sharp for a man half dead. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither spoke. His gaze darted around, wild and disoriented. "Where am I?" he rasped. "Safe," she whispered. "You're safe. I found you by the river." He looked at her, disbelief and confusion battling behind his eyes. "Why?" he asked in a hoarse whisper. "Why save me?" Clara looked away, dipping the cloth back into the water. "Because I couldn't just walk away," she said quietly. The man's hand suddenly shot up, gripping her wrist. "You shouldn't have," he muttered. "If they find me here, they'll kill you too." His strength surprised her, and yet his touch was trembling, filled with a desperate kind of warning. "Then they won't find you," she said with sudden resolve. "Now lie still." Hours passed, the sun sank, and the barn filled with the soft hum of night. Clara stayed by his side, changing the cloth, wiping sweat from his forehead. He told her his name was Tahoma, a warrior of his. People ambushed and shot by bounty hunters. She listened, fascinated and frightened all at once. There was a quiet pride in his voice even through pain, a man who'd fought for his people, for freedom, for something she could hardly understand. "You're different," he whispered at one point. "Most would have let me bleed out." She looked at him, her hands folded in her lap. "Maybe," she said softly, "but maybe that's why most people are wrong." When his fever spiked, she ran her cool hand over his forehead, whispering prayers she wasn't even sure she believed in anymore. The night air was heavy and her candle flickered low. Tahoma stirred, eyes half open, and mumbled something in his language. Clara leaned closer, brushing his hair aside, and whispered, "You're safe. I promise." But as she sat there, heart racing, her father's voice boomed from outside the barn, calling her name. Her stomach turned to stone. "Clara, what are you doing out there?" he shouted. She froze, the Apache's breathing loud in her ears. Panic filled her chest. "Stay quiet," she whispered urgently, pressing her hand over his lips. He looked up at her, confused, his voice hoarse. What are you doing?" he stammered. Her eyes widened, her heart thundering as her father's footsteps drew closer. "Oh no," she whispered, her voice trembling. The morning sun spilled through the barn's cracks, dust floating like golden smoke. Clara hadn't slept. Her father had checked the barn the night before, but thankfully hadn't come inside. She'd hidden Tahoma behind the hay bales, covering him with a horse blanket. Now he was awake, sitting upright, the color returning to his face. "You risked your life," he said, watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "If they find me, they'll hang me, or worse." "You could lose everything." Clara looked at him, brushing straw from her dress. "Maybe," she said, her voice steady, "but I couldn't let you die." "You deserve a chance to live." He studied her in silence, his expression softening. The light caught the scar on his chest. Now cleaned and stitched, and for the first time, Clara noticed how human he looked, tired. Yes, but strong and alive. "You have courage, Clara Whitmore," he said. "Too much for your own good," she smiled faintly. "And you have a bad habit of getting shot." That earned her a weak chuckle, and for a moment the air between them felt lighter. But as the day stretched on, danger loomed closer. Riders had been seen near the ridge, men searching for a wounded Apache. Clara knew they'd come this way soon. By midday, Tahoma tried to stand. "You can't move yet," she protested. "I have to," he said, voice firm. "If they catch me here, they'll think you helped me. I won't let them hurt you." His words hit her harder than she expected. "You don't even know me," she said quietly. He looked at her with a gaze that seemed to see right through her. "Maybe not, but you saved me when no one else would. That's enough." When the sound of horses echoed in the distance, panic took hold. Clara led him to the back of the barn, toward a hidden trail by the creek. "Go now," she whispered. "Follow the river. It'll lead you to the canyon." Tahoma hesitated, his eyes searching hers. "You'll get in trouble," he said. "Not if you go," she replied, forcing a brave smile. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath. "I owe you my life," he murmured. "Then live it," she whispered. Just before he turned to leave, he caught her hand gently. "Clara," he said, his voice low, almost breaking. "One day I'll come back, when the world's not burning." She swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "Then I'll be here," she whispered. He gave her one last look, a promise unspoken, and vanished into the dawn mist. Hours later, her father and the posse arrived, questioning her, searching the barn. But Tahoma was gone. She faced them calmly, her hands steady even as her heart pounded. When they rode off, leaving dust and silence behind, Clara went back inside and found the small leather charm he'd left near the hay, a piece of his world, of his heart. She held it to her chest, whispering, "Stay safe." As the sun dipped low again, she sat in the barn doorway, watching the horizon. The same golden light bathed the land, and though he was gone, his memory burned bright in her heart. She didn't know if he'd return, but she knew one thing. Some connections are carved by fate, deeper than blood, stronger than fear.